How's it going, and welcome to the Guitar Effect. In this episode we're going to be talking about choosing between a multi-effects unit and a pedal board of pedals for when you're getting started with guitar effects. But before I do get into it, I'll ask you to please like and subscribe and hit the notifications bell so you can be kept up to date every time I put out a new video. So I'm going to grab the two pedal board and multi-effects now in question and give you a look at what I'm talking about. Okay, so say you have started playing guitar, you started playing electric guitar, you have got a guitar and amplifier, maybe even an amplifier with some built-in effects, and you've become interested in the idea of getting into effects in some way, shape or form, right? So there's two routes you can go. One is to buy a multi-effects unit, which is a load of guitar effects in one unit, and one is to buy individual pedals and to build up your collection of pedals based upon that to make up what is in effect a pedal board, okay? So I've got two examples of that here. First of all, there is the NUX Cerberus multi-effects unit. And secondly, I have built this small pedal board of all Caline pedals. Now the Cerberus is a budget multi-effects unit, and these pedals are budget pedals, right? Both are made in China by Chinese kind of budget pedal manufacturers, right? So both of these can be had for in and around the 300-350 euro mark, but they're very comparable, but there are reasons to choose either, right? And I think the best way to do that is to kind of play through them and explain to you what the reasons behind choosing each one are. So here we go with the audio demo. So let's just talk about comparisons between the two for the moment, right? So first of all, let's talk about footprint, or what that effectively means, obviously, is the size of the thing you're having to carry around. The multi-effects unit is roughly half the size of this pedal board. And even though this is a compact pedal board, I'm also using 3 pedals on this pedal board that have more than one function. So if they were broken out into individual pedals, this pedal board will be much larger. So the multi-effects unit, in this case specifically, wins out hands down in terms of size and ease of transporting, right? So the next thing to talk about then is flexibility, right? So with a pedal board, you can buy a number of pedals, put them together into a pedal board, and then figure out whether or not those pedals are for you. If you don't like those pedals, it's very easy just to get a different, say, in this case, overdrive pedal, and just replace the one you have. And you can keep doing that until you find the overdrive that you like, right? And that is ultimately why, in truth, a set of analog pedals on a pedal board, or digital for that matter, wins out in terms of flexibility over a multi-effects. Because when you buy a multi-effects, sure, you can shop around between different multi-effects, but the multi-effects that you choose is the one that you will have, and whatever it has available are the effects that are available to you, unless you choose to change the whole multi-effects. Whereas with a pedal board, you can choose to drop stuff in and out until you find the individual pedals that you really love. And that is the reason why I think the majority of people choose a pedal board. Probably more intermediate to advanced players, but why people choose a pedal board over a multi-effects is the idea of being able to find your own voice and find your own identity by choosing pedals that you specifically feel speak to you and speak of your identity and intention of what you're trying to play, right? So that's the third reason, is the ability to make something your own is much easier with a set of pedals than it is with a multi-effects unit. Although, when you get on to the other video I'm going to make about a more advanced pedal board versus a more advanced multi-effects unit, I think really advanced multi-effects unit like the Line 6HX effect allow you very much to put your own stamp on what you're doing also. Okay, so the next thing to talk about, and I think is important, is power, right? With a pedal board, especially if you use some high current pedals, none of which I'm using at the moment, these are all low current draw pedals, which means they don't take a lot of power. You need to buy a pedal. You need to buy a pedal power supply. In this case, I'm using this MX or brick in the corner here, and that just takes in 18 volts of power and changes it into 8 outputs of 9 volt power. And each one of these pedals takes 9 volts. So I have 5 outputs. You can see them here: 4 in the front, 1 in the back, powering these 5 pedals on the pedal board. That's an expense that you'll have to incur in order to be able to power pedals, right? Whereas when you buy a multi-effects unit, it generally comes with its own power supply, which in this case the Cerberus did as well. It came with its own power supply, which you can see plugged into the back there. So You'll have to buy extra power to power a full pedal board, but you won't have to buy power to power your multi-effects unit. It will come with it. Okay, so that's the 3 or 4 first benefits, right? And the next thing I'm going to talk about is something that's kind of a little bit pointless with this, which I'm going to talk about sound, right? Because depending on what pedals you choose, depending versus what multi-effects you choose, the subjective sound becomes irrelevant, because obviously each pedal sounds different, each multi-effect sounds different, right? But I'm just going to show you that the multi-effect in general can achieve our version of what your pedal board can do. I'm going to show you what I mean. Okay, so on this pedal board, I'm playing a Epiphone Les Paul Jr. into a Koch Studio Tone 20 head direct into my interface, right? So I'm going into the pedal board, out of the pedal board, into the multi-effects unit. So everything's in series, right? So to start with, I have a compressor on the pedal board. Okay, so it tightens up the sound and changes the EQ characteristic. I don't have a compressor on the NUX Cerberus. Just simply isn't one as part of the offering of effects. So that's the first thing, right? The next thing is overdrive. I have overdrive on the pedal board. I also have overdrive on the Cerberus. Okay, I have distortion on the pedal. I have distortion on the Cerberus. Okay, I have a modulation pedal on the pedal board. In this case, I have it set to chorus. I can also set it to flanger, phaser, tremolo, vibrato, and pitch shifting. On the Cerberus, there's a modulation section. Okay, I can also set that to tremolo, phaser, and univibe. So I think those two are comparable. I have a reverb, which I have assigned to this control switch on the Cerberus. Okay, I have a reverb on the pedal board. I have a delay on the Cerberus. I have a delay on the pedal board. So I think in the case of this pedal board and this multi-effects unit, the multi-effects unit can do everything that pedal board can do, but the multi-effects unit can also do a lot more. So first of all, in terms of sounds, I've one delay and one reverb with this delay and reverb pedal on my pedal board, whereas I have 3 reverbs and 3 delays on the Cerberus. Okay, I'll just show you that really quickly. So if I turn on delay, that's an analog delay. That's a tape delay. And that is a digital delay. Okay, in terms of the reverb, I'll just turn off the delay. I have spring reverb, plate reverb, hall reverb. I'm not going to go into how they sound, but the point is there's more options. I could buy a more expensive delay and reverb pedal that would give me more options, but the point being the multi-effects unit has 3 reverbs, 3 delays, 3 choruses, 3 modulation effects, right? Whereas generally with pedals, you're stuck with 1 or 2 sounds that pedal can do. And that's the way that I think the multi-effects win out. Okay. And then the last, and to me, the most important reason why a multi-effects wins out, especially in a live situation, is most multi-effects come with the possibility to create what are called presets, which is one switch can turn on or off several pedals at a time. In order to get from, say, I'm going to show you what I mean. Say I have a sound with a compressor, a delay, and reverb on the pedal board, right? Just turn off the reverb on this. And I want to get from that to a straight distortion sound. I have to turn off the delay, turn off the reverb, turn off the compressor, and turn on the distortion. Okay, if I want to do the same thing on the multi-effect unit, I can set up what's called a preset. So all I do is I go and turn on the delay, the reverb, and play. And then I'd simply save that to 1D here. Save. And now I have my delay reverb on. And then I simply switch the delay and the reverb off, turn on the distortion, hit save it to 1C, save it again. And now I just have my distortion on. So what that means is I can simply go from, switch to preset mode. I can simply go from clean, delay and reverb. And then go straight from that with one switch. Now, I'm demonstrating that in a pretty basic way, but the power of that is genuinely limitless. And that is the reason why I think after you've familiarised yourself with what effects do, I think it's really important, or it's really powerful, I'd say, to be able to understand the power of presets and how presets can get you through a gig so much easier than having to go turn this off, 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 and turn this on to get from one sound to the other, right? It's really not ideal to have to do that. So that's explaining the main differences between the two, and I hope that was helpful. So there you go. I think there's good reason to choose either. Ultimately, I think if you're a beginner, and especially if you want to start gigging, something like this, where there's no menus, something like this, where there's no menus, no screens or anything like that as a multi-effects unit, is a very, very, very attractive and viable option. It's a very, very powerful unit, and I think as a beginner's multi-effects unit is a great place to start. With the pedalboard, I think these pedals sound great and are really reasonably priced, and you can put this pedalboard together for a similar price to that. But ultimately, I think starting with a multi-effects unit is the way to go, because you have the choice of effects to pick from. If you want to buy a multi-effects and become familiar with them that way, you can then build a pedalboard afterwards if you want to get your own sense of individuality about your own sound. So, any questions, throw them in the comment section down below. I'll be happy to answer. And as always, I thank you for watching if you've gotten this far. And hopefully I'll see you in another video again soon. And oh yeah, please like and subscribe. Take it easy. Bye bye.